And I have the
Okay.
original DataHub sweatshirt. It's the
In,
classic.
yeah, you know what? I have mine as well. Does anybody in the audience have a DataHub swag shirt by any chance? I'm just curious. Yay.
Oh, look at that. Harshal, we're twinning.
Hey, look.
Oh,
Uh,
last weekend when my son came, he stole mine. Sorry.
ah, that's awesome. Okay, let us go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. I see we have people that are still entering. We are again live on YouTube, so I know we have people that are joining us there as well. Thank you for joining. Let me go ahead and get started. Today we have, where's Harshal? Let me bring Harshal up and pin him online. Give me 1 second here. And then also let me see, is John here? Let me pin up John online and just pin up our speakers. Yes, he is. Hey, John, I'm gonna add you to the pin here. All right, so let's say hi. Welcome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I just want to welcome everybody. Like I said, we have people that are on YouTube as well as here. So I definitely will be monitoring YouTube for those people who are there. Thank you so much for joining. We are super excited to get started. Okay, let me go ahead and share our deck, and then we will get started here. All right, and Zoom has some awesome cool stuff too that we can use when we share the deck, so that's pretty cool. Okay, let me know when everybody can go ahead and see my deck, please. And then I'm gonna go ahead and try this new function. Just bear with me, just because I like to have fun, and put myself down here. All right, let us go ahead. Oh, not share. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so welcome everybody to our March town hall. We're excited. So in the town hall today, we have a very special guest. His name is J Wave. I have him pinned up, and he is going to share how Visa created a data catalog in DataHub and use it to scale their data governance. Now, this was super exciting, even discussing it with him. So I think you guys, it is jam-packed with knowledge. A matter of fact, I will say, pull up your notepad and pencil when he starts his slides. We went through them and he has nailed it. So you guys are in for a treat today. Not to mention, we also have the awesome Shashanka, who will actually be replacing Maggie Hayes today. He will handle our project updates and our Data Hub product updates. I know a lot of you have questions about our 𝗏0.13, so that's exciting. We then have Harshal. He's going to give a sneak peek at our DBT integration. Everybody who's using DBT, put DBT in the chat. I know we have a lot of people using DBT. And then also we have a quick update from John Joyce on our Acryl Observe product and launch, which is imminent. So we have an exciting set of updates today. We look forward to hearing from you guys, so please go ahead and type in the chat. Okay, as per usual, if you guys have attended the town hall before, I want to go ahead quickly and ask a question. We like to kind of find out what stage in your adoption you are with DataHub. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and launch a quick poll for you guys to respond to, so we can understand where you are. If you guys can go ahead and quickly answer that poll, that'd be great. If you are on YouTube, the poll is stating phase 1 is evaluating DataHub. Phase 2 is running a POC. Phase 3 is deploying to production. And then phase 4 is running in production. And then we have another phase with people who want to skip the learning curve, and they're looking at Acro Cloud, which is our managed data hub product. So I'll give this a few minutes. I see people responding already. Please go ahead and reply, which is awesome. And then I will close and show the poll. All right. Let me see here. Okay, 60%. Still have some replies coming in here. It's interesting. I feel like Shashanka, like when you see the results, it seems to be pretty consistent. Very interesting. Okay, so we have about 65% that responded. I'll give about 5 more seconds and then we will close it and share the results. And I'll let Shashanka maybe comment on it. Maggie usually does. Okay, I'm gonna close the poll now. Let me share the results. So same thing, Shashanka and John and Harshal, 30 almost, right? 30% almost evaluating DataHub, 32% deploying to production, and almost 29% running in production. Any comments on that?
That's pretty stable, isn't it? From last time as well.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting.
so that gives us insight into making sure that the town hall covers both, content that targets folks or is helpful for folks that are just evaluating, but also including kind of the more mature folks in production or in the act of deploying to production. So pretty cool. Hopefully all the channels in Slack are working for you. Miko is running a lot of analysis and making sure that the channels are humming and are appropriately targeted. So please let us know if things are working out well for you in terms of where you are in your journey and what you need from us to help you get to success.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks everybody again for responding. Okay, so let's get started so we can get to the good stuff. I'm going to take just a few minutes to give a few updates and announcements that are coming up. So let's start with the community updates. So everybody, we are approaching a really big number. We're at 10,600 members, which means typically by the next time we do this town hall, probably by March, April, we will be toward 11,000 members. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Even though I am heading toward my 1-year journey at DataHub, even me, it's almost doubled since I've joined. So thank everybody for being a part of our Slack community. In addition, we have about 970 weekly active users, which is pretty awesome. Thank you guys for engaging. We have over 4,000 messages that are being posted every month in the month of March. And then we have almost 400 reactions added. So thank you guys so much for engaging. We do appreciate you and we'll continue to keep you abreast of our updates. Now, in terms of our support volume, the things that you really care about, how many PRs do we have open in the past 4 weeks? 47 PRs. Thank everybody for the contributions. I actually went through some of these yesterday and they're super cool. So thank you guys so much for all the contributions that you give. In addition, in terms of what our team is doing in terms of support messages, we are averaging about almost 350 support messages per week. So the community is humming. We do appreciate your community support. Thanks everybody for being engaged. As you could see, we continue to grow, and I believe we have ramped up now for 2024. With that said, we could not create and build this community without the help of you. And so I want to make sure that we thank the contributors, which are people who provided support in the community. As you guys know, we can never, internally, we can't scale to provide support. So please, if you are in the community and you see a question, please feel free to go ahead and help, especially if it's something that you've tackled or you can help. Even if it's one question, we truly appreciate it. That way our engineers can focus on the harder questions or the things that only we can address. So with that said, I don't know if he's on here live, but a massive thank you to 𝗏𝗏 and Hendrik Rickert. 𝗏𝗏 is actually one of our DataHub champions. If you are in the community, you cannot miss him. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You could see there's a long list here. I won't go through it. I'm only going to point out as well some of our other DataHub champions, including Sergio Gomez. We have here Peter. I won't proceed to pronounce his last name. We have Nicola and a few others. They are our DataHub champions. So thanks everybody for the help. Oh, I see Amanda in here. This is awesome. So thank you for the support. And then I want to make you abreast that one of the things that we've been doing, well, we have a new calendar that we've been using. Can you guys just quickly raise your hand if you are subscribed or are using our new calendar for events? We recently launched a calendar earlier this year, and we noticed that people seem to be liking the calendar. So if you like our new calendar or using it, I'd love if you could raise your hand. And so we have a number of events on there, and in the calendar, you guys can see what's coming up. So the first event, which I think a lot of you may be aware of if you're not new to DataHub, is next week. We have our monthly marathon. Essentially, it's where we spend about 6 hours with 3 different types of sessions. We have a getting started session, a specific ingestion session, and then a troubleshooting session. We have it twice in a day, and you can join there and get your questions answered live by our team. So it's a very unique opportunity. If you have a question that's pending, please join. We address it live, and our goal is to make sure that we show up for the community and provide support, and the team has been having a great time there. In addition, I want to recommend, if you have not, talking about the calendar, subscribe to our calendar, please do so. I don't want you to sign off of here to do it, by the way, so don't leave us as yet. I'll send you it in the end. But if you are for some reason not subscribed to the calendar, please share this with your team. Just go to events@datahubproject.io, and that'll keep you abreast of all our upcoming events. Okay, so let's take a look quickly at our project updates here, and I'm going to hand it over to Shashanka. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. And one of our learnings from doing this a few times is that we always take a lot of time going through the project updates because we are so proud of everything we've done. And we end up finding that we have less time for all of the amazing stories from the community, as well as all of the product updates that go into deep dives. So I'm going to go over this really quick today and not talk as usual. With that, let's get started. All righty, is my screen visible? Perfect. So last time, the project updates section was extremely large because I had to cover everything that was in 0.13, and it's a lot of stuff. I'm not going to cover that this time. 0.13.1, which is actually imminent, is much smaller, which thankfully means we have less to cover in this town hall. A bunch of contributors, even in the last couple of weeks, 15 first-time contributors, 26 repeat contributors. Really excited that the project continues to be vibrant and attracting new contributors, as well as repeat contributors. Our PR list count continues to stay pretty high, again, reaching those close to 200-ish in a month, which is always great. And moving on, 0.13 highlights, 13.1. So 0.13 monster release, lots packed in there. 13.1, a quick follow-up release that's going out, I think this week or early next week. And then we'll try to have the next release after that also go out, in a couple of weeks. So we're trying to get a bit more frequent in our releases that keeps, the bits flowing, and you guys can continue upgrading quicker. Things like user experience improvements, policies, group profiles, access management table, loads faster, gives clearer feedback, bunch of ingestion forms work to make setting up Azure and Okta much better. On the metadata ingestion side, Harshal is going to do a deep dive into DBT. We're essentially doing a much more expanded DBT integration, and it's going to be great. Ingestion framework, tons of improvements as usual around SQL parsing, incremental column level lineage, et cetera. And open lineage integration is in the platform right now. So we've got a new endpoint, the Spark lineage plugin wraps open lineage connectors, adds a few more capabilities on top. So all of these are now available for the community to take advantage of as part of 13.1. Moving on to developer experience, a bunch of improvements to our docs and tools. As usual, the API guide now includes examples for Acryl as well. We get a lot of feedback from the community, obviously, using open source DataHub, but then the Acryl API has a little bit more additional capabilities, additional models that we have as part of the Acryl Cloud, the managed DataHub product. And the API guide now includes those examples as well. And finally, security and dependency management, we take it very seriously. A bunch of updates are happening and will continue to happen to manage security vulnerabilities. In terms of a slightly bigger upgrade, recently OpenSearch 2.11 upgrade was released, so that's part of this, this release. With that, I'll switch over to what Maggie usually covers, which is DataHub product roadmap. These were the things we had promised this quarter. As you see, open lineage finally complete. User experience for incidents already complete last time we shared it. Data products, there has been progress on it. I've had a few conversations with folks in the community already, and I'm lining up a few more conversations. So we've got a combination of discovery with folks in the community, as well as internal designs, both on the technical as well as on the UX side. That's in progress. So this will probably not get delivered in March, looking more like April at this point. Same for developer experience. Again, conversations happening. We've got discovery going on, and we have a pretty good idea of how we're going to build this. But it'll come back into the project over the next month or so. So that's kind of the update on the product roadmap side. And with that, I'll hand it over to 𝗏𝗪𝗪 to talk about what we've been cooking up on DBT integration, some of the feedback we've received, and how we're improving it. 𝗏𝗪𝗪, I'll let you take it over.
Yep, let me share my screen. All right. So this is a sneak peek session. Everything that you're going to be seeing here is going to be part of the upcoming release, 0.13.1. And, you know, I'll have the details from the corresponding CLI versions. But broadly, we've been kind of rethinking what are the gaps in our integration with DBT and how can we make it kind of work really well out of the box. So the first thing that we've heard is
𝗏𝗪𝗪, could you slideshow? Sorry, could you put it in slideshow mode?
I was
Sorry
gonna
interrupt you.
do live demos on these things and not follow the
Okay.
slides.
All right.
So the first thing was that column level impact analysis now works much more reliably. So in the past, we've had issues where with DBT, the lineage graph would show correctly and, you know, show all the lineage that you'd expect. But if you go to the impact analysis tab, in certain cases where, you know, you've got ephemeral tables or, you know, certain other situations, column level lineage for the impact analysis view would not work fully. And, you know, I'm happy to say that now it will work fully and properly. And all of the APIs will let you see column level impact analysis all the way down, regardless of how many degrees. And so, you know, we can pick out, for example, this one, and we can see exactly how it was derived through all of the tables and, you know, following renames and things like that. And, you know, this doesn't change the graph view. The graph view continues to work as it did before with, you know, being able to select columns and expand them out and see all of the lineage as you'd expect. In order to make this happen, we needed some backend support. And so making this work fully will require upgrading both the CLI and the backend GMS in order to not overwrite things that and make sure that lineage works. The second thing we heard is, hey, like, you know, great that I can see all of the DBT models, but I want to also understand how frequently are they run? Do I have changes in the duration of how long they take to build? Particularly for, you know, when making changes to models, often you can see durations spike from, you know, a couple seconds to, you know, many minutes. And often it's very easy to miss those if you're just running these things in Airflow or in CI. And this way you can kind of surface all of that information right in the UI, understand what's happening, see if there's any failures, if there's any changes in duration, if there's any skips in timestamps. And this really just pushes us towards better monitoring and better observability across your data ecosystem. And the final thing are a couple small quality of life improvements. So one is that if you go to the View Definition tab, you'll now see a little selector where you can see both DBT, the raw code with all of the sources and references and your configs, and then also the compiled code that DBT actually executed against your warehouse or against Postgres in this case. We've also made a number of improvements to the ability for us to support multi-project setups. So in multi-project setups where you have, you know, models from one DBT project used as sources in the downstream, often this composed of section becomes kind of unwieldy because it shows both the Postgres table, the DBT model, and all of the sources. And it becomes pretty hard to navigate throughout the UI. And so we're experimenting with a couple new flags to kind of make that experience more nice, avoid sources in the lineage graph and actually just from being generated at all. And then that way you can kind of have a smoother experience that meshes with the way people think about multi-project DBT setups. So anyway, if you are using DBT with multiple projects, we have better docs for it. I have a link for it here. And then also, please reach out to me and we can chat about how to make multi-project DBT setups a stellar experience as well. The other small improvement is now if you're using, you can provide multiple run result files to the DBT ingestion. So often this is useful if you have Airflow and you're running DBT build for every single model, then you can just collect all of those run results files and just send it into our integration just once. And so it's a little bit more ergonomic to kind of use DataHub with the DBT integration wherever you are. Everything that I just showed will be available in 0.13.1 and 0.13.1.3 for the CLI release. The model performance changes will require you to provide the run results JSON file from that DBT generates. Everything else will kind of work out of the box. So if you upgrade your connector, those things will just start getting generated and you'll start to see them in the UI. All right, that is all on my end. So let me know if there's any questions. I see there's a couple chat. Excited to see what people do with it.
Marshall, I had a quick question.
Yeah, thank you.
For you. Does this require people to upgrade the backend, or can they just get the new source and they just see the improvements?
Yeah, so the backend improvements that we need specifically are around patch support for column level lineage. So I believe those landed in 0.13.0. And then the model performance changes require 0.13.1. And so it will require a backend upgrade in order to use those things. Yeah, so basically you will need a backend upgrade in addition to the CLI upgrade to use these.
Cool. So in a nutshell, column level impact analysis will work better. You can avoid DBT sources cluttering up your lineage graph. And then you can also have DBT model run results show up in addition to the logic.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great group of improvements. Back to you, Miko.
All right, Harshal, thank you. That is awesome. I think there's a lot of excitement around the DBT integration, so that's good to hear. And next up, we have one of my favorite people, Mr. John Joyce. Rock and roll time. Are you ready?
Hey, yeah, thanks guys. Thanks, Miko. Let me go ahead and share my screen if you don't mind.
All right, and just a reminder, if you're on YouTube, because I see you guys on there, feel free to post your questions and I will make sure to get them addressed. We do see you on there.
All right, awesome. Well, hey guys, I'm back for another update on Acryl Observe. I think this is maybe my third or fourth, so you guys are probably getting tired of seeing me. That's a good thing. I'm just going to continue to repeat things until it sticks. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Just a quick recap. I always like to start with this about the mission of the observability track at Acryl. Our mission is to help data-driven organizations identify and proactively resolve data quality issues, trying to establish some process around how issues are triaged, assigned, and then driven to resolution across your organization. And what we're building to help you do that is a suite of different things. We're building data quality monitoring managed by DataHub. So this is, data quality assertions in the product, which allow you to define data quality checks in just a few clicks. Incidents and notifications. So this is basically a mechanism to notify the right people when things do go wrong in the channels where they work, whether it be email, Slack, or beyond. AI-powered, smart assertions, which are kind of auto-generated data quality rules that are trained based on the table's history. And then finally, real-time dashboards so that you can have a bird's eye view of the health of your entire data ecosystem all in one place. Last time in my update, we went over a new integration. I think it was at the beginning of January, we launched the Databricks integration, which kind of rounded out our support of the major data warehouses and data lake platforms. And we launched that with all assertion types, so Freshness, volume, column, and custom SQL as well. We also announced support for both the kind of Unity catalog in Databricks and the legacy Hive Metastore catalog. And now I'm just going to jump right into a demo of what our team has been working on since then. There's going to be a few interesting updates I'd like to share, and then we'll go ahead and close this out. So here I have a test table on BigQuery. It's called purchase event, and hopefully some of you are getting familiar with this table by now. I tend to use it in all my demos. But you can imagine it represents a table of purchases. Maybe we have an e-commerce website and we want to record the transactions. So we have things like the user ID that made the purchase, the amount, the currency code, when it happened, etc. What you'll see on the validation tab as part of the observability module is a set of data quality assertions that we've set up here on this table. And I'm just going to go through a few different improvements we've made over the last couple months. The first you'll notice is a much better visualization of the results for your assertions. So previously it was a very basic sort of, pass or fail analysis that we would provide, but now we're providing a lot richer information, including, actually why the assertion failed for each type. So here we're looking at a freshness assertion that's actually going to check whether the table was updated every 6 hours. And what we're showing you here is that we're checking this table very frequently, but there were no updates to the table in that 6-hour window. We allow you to go back in time and see the history of all of the runs for this check as well in sort of this more list view where you can understand exactly why the check failed, what was expected from the check at any point in time. So kind of that rich historical context. We also make explainability of why the check passes a lot more easy to understand. So for example, we have a freshness check here, which is just an example that's going to make sure that this table was updated at least once in the past year. And what you can see here when you hover on the check is, it passed, but it passed because there was a table update. And you can see that the table update happened around October 23rd, which is what we're showing in the green validity range window here. You'll also get that textual description of why, but just making it a lot easier to understand, why a check passed or failed in the past. We've done the same thing for column metrics. So we kind of have provided a lot more rich context about why the check's passing and failing and what the condition is overlaid on the results screen. And we've actually had those improvements across, all of the different checks. So here we're showing a row count check, which is, obviously our window is basically between 20 and 50, and we're seeing that the row count is consistently falling into that expected threshold. So that's the first kind of category of check changes we made. The second is around the editing experience. So we actually allow you now to edit any check. So previously you'd have to delete and recreate new assertions, but we now give you the ability to change everything from the run schedule to the conditions to whether these things raise or resolve incidents automatically directly through this UI, and that'll take effect immediately. Alrighty, I think the last thing I really want to touch on is not necessarily related to running the checks, but actually what happens when a check passes or fails. And for that, I'm going to jump over to another tab I have here. And this feature is the ability to be notified via email. If you're an Acryl customer, you probably, or maybe you're already using our Slack integration, which allows you to subscribe to receive notifications in any Slack channel. We're going to also be rolling out email notifications, which allow you to do the exact same thing. So what I can do is I can subscribe to any table. And in particular, I can subscribe to receive very specific types of notifications for every table. For example, whether an assertion fails or passes, an incident status changes, a schema field is added or removed or changed. And then I can get notified both via Slack and via email now. So that will be available in the next release of Acryl Data Hub as well. And then I'll just close the demo with showing you kind of what that will look like to you. You'll be receiving a notification from notifications@app.acryl that will give you all the details you would need about the new incident or the assertion failure or pass as well. And that's kind of the last thing I wanted to close with. So really excited about this. It's kind of just trying to get those notifications to the right people at the right time. All right, let's jump back in. And just a quick overview of what we saw, just an assertion results uplift, editable assertions, and some more historical context in those results. And finally, the email subscriptions and notifications feature. I'm just going to close with why we think Acryl is a really strong provider on data quality. First of all, we give you accessible data quality. You can configure data quality monitors for all of your assets without writing any code or any YAML files. Super accessible to not only your data engineering team, but all of your partner teams. So if you have marketing counterparts or business analyst counterparts that you want to just send a link to and say, hey, watch this table's assertions to tell whether you should use this table, that's possible with Acryl. We give you all of that rich context, ownership, documentation, lineage, statistics, so that you can resolve those data quality issues more quickly when they do inevitably come up. And then finally, we kind of unify traditionally siloed categories across data cataloging, data governance, data quality, because there's a lot of synergy in the signals across these things. In fact, they strengthen each other into one tool that's accessible for every member of your organization, not just your technical teams. All right, and I'll close by saying Acryl Observe is available now, so reach out to the Acryl team to learn more. If you're not a customer, to set up a demo, and if you are, to actually get that module enabled. All right, Nico, this is probably the earliest I've ever finished this segment in a town hall, so I think we're doing well on time, hopefully.
No, actually, we're doing really well. And so I wanted to remind people that we may have some time at the end to do a live Q&A. We are actually 10 minutes ahead. This is good stuff. So that means, Jean-Pierre, we can go through all your slides because you did the wish list. I mean, you have an exciting deck. But before we go forward, is there any questions that people maybe have for John about the release? I know I'm super excited about the Acryl Observe, but it's only because I'm watching the prep for the launch internally. Any questions, Shashanka, for you? Because I think you've been adding a good context to the discussion.
Yeah, I think thanks for everyone who is engaging. Looks like there's a lot of DBT evangelists and practitioners in the community. We would love to kind of engage more deeply with you as we build out some of these integrations with the DBT stack and get more and more in kind of the developer's toolkit. So thanks for all of your feedback. Do reach out to us on Slack because we're actively developing some of these features so we could make sure that those are tuned just right for you. And very curious to hear how people are connecting up their stack with DataHub, both from a data quality perspective as well as data governance. That's pretty much all I have to say. I think we have a few questions. We'll take those in chat, and we can move forward to JP's talk.
All right, but before
Awesome.
we get to JP, hold on one more second. Thank you for that, Shashanka. I just realized that I forgot to mention something really important. We do have a new event called a DataHub Accelerator. I want to make sure, I don't know why this slide wasn't showing, but on every Wednesday, we used to have our office hours, which a lot of you attend. We now have what we call a DataHub Accelerator. and it happens on Wednesdays at 9 to 9:30 a.m. ET. And that is with Gabe and or Jeff, and they are happy to answer your questions. This is very different from a marathon in which not only are they given advice, but they are focused on making sure that your data hub, deployment, POC, whatever it is you're working on, we accelerate it by answering direct questions. So make sure you guys join us again, events.datahubproject.io. You guys can register. I just want to make sure that I mention that. Okay, without further ado, Jean-Pierre, the stage is yours. Let's do
Thank
it.
you.
Let's hear it. Let's give him a round of applause. I'm so excited about this. Yay!
Let
And
me
hi,
try to figure out
Maggie.
if I can share a screen. Let's go from that. Let's see what happens.
All right, let's go.
Did anything happen? Share screen. Large. I don't know. Not much seems to happen on this.
All right, just let me know if I can help. You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, just pull it up because.
All right, rock and roll time. Okay, just let me know and I will move the slides along here. Let's verify everybody can see. And let me change the view here. Okay, does that work? Can everybody see
Yep.
Jean-Pierre's slides?
Cool, thanks for doing that.
Okay.
So just very briefly, well, I hope I'll live up to the hype, but let's see where we go. So I'm part of the team, and the team deserves all the credit. I'm just a product manager who drives some of our capabilities at Visa around what we do with our tooling around cataloging, governance, quality. Mika, if you go to the next slide. Very briefly about Visa, I don't think I need to go into too much detail about what Visa is or does. I'll just actually start with, we're not a bank, so just so everybody knows, we don't actually issue your card. We actually are the network underneath all of that. And so what we call moving money globally, we connect effectively everybody's wallet, whether it's a physical or a digital one on a phone or whatever device, with like a whole lot of merchants in a whole lot of countries. And so we're typically like the invisible glue or the invisible network underneath the money that moves around. And we try to make that as seamless as possible. A lot of the things we do are around seamlessness, security, and trust. And you'll hear me say the word governance, and that is really related to us understanding data and making sure we use data in both an ethical and an appropriate manner. So it's a really big deal for Visa as a company to understand what we do with data and to get all the proper consent and all of that. So that's a little bit about Visa. You can see the numbers here. Some of them are pretty impressive. I don't think that the transaction number is necessarily impressive to people who do large scale systems. Just keep in mind that these systems do move money, right? So all of these messages are really important to actually arrive at the end destination. So that's really our goal. As part of that, we as a team, we'll call it a data and AI platform. Mika, if you shift to the next slide. We actually take all of those wonderful transactions that go over this network and we put them into what we call our data and AI platform. And so just to give you a bit of idea of what our systems look like. First and foremost, most of it is in our own data centers. Most of the backbone that runs that transaction is in our data centers. And so we connect our analytics and AI platforms directly into that, and they're typically somewhat co-located or very closely co-located. Our typical setup is that we use Kafka for most of our messaging systems in terms of the analytics side of the house. Spark is our large kind of scale data programming language. We have a bunch of Hadoop clusters, a bunch of database systems, right? There's nothing spectacular in that, other than that these things are hunky-dory big. Common BI stuff, and we invest a ton on AI. We've been doing that for many years, even before AI and Gen AI was like the coolest thing ever. And you'll notice a lot of it actually directly in your payments. Like the whole monitoring around fraudulent activity is all AI driven. And like I said, we've been doing that for quite some time. So we invest a ton of that, and we invest a ton in the data that powers those things, right? Our AI systems are only as good as our data that powers it. And increasingly, I think everybody's starting to realize that data without metadata is a bit painful and a bit hard. And so there's more and more focus, and I'll talk a little bit about our journey, but there's more and more focus on the cataloging of that data. I'll try to predict something here. Looking at all the laws and all of the AI hype that's going on and the usage of it, I think everybody should start to invest more and more in cataloging and metadata, because you're going to get asked a lot of questions as to what does this data come from, what is it used for, which model uses it, and so start thinking beyond traditional data flows. Start thinking about cataloging and connecting this deeply into your AI systems. We actually do a ton of open source and in-house build. And I'll switch that over to our data catalog journey, right? Because we actually started about 5 years ago, and we looked around the market and we didn't see anything really interesting. So we actually built our own catalog system, and we've been doing that for a while. And obviously, if you build something, you get to focus on exactly what we wanted in that system. And so we really looked at trying to get the organization to go to metadata first. Also in anticipation of understanding where our data is used. And so we've been on a build journey for a few years. And we started to realize that while you get a lot of control over it, there's also a lot of things that you have to keep on doing. It's like having a family dog, right? The dog never grows up. You have to keep on feeding it. You have to take it to the vet. You have to pay attention to it. It doesn't just kind of grow up, right? And so many of these systems, you'll spend a lot of time working on things that are not driving value for the business, right? My Visa business users don't get excited about us maintaining a Kafka cluster or building a messaging system under our catalog. And so we are moving to DataHub. We've deployed into production now. And we really see good coverage on what we need in DataHub. I'll talk about our wish list in a little bit. And so we're now shoveling everything into DataHub. We're going live probably over the next couple of weeks with all of our production systems ingested into DataHub. It'll be the mainstay of our catalog. We're very excited about kind of some of the basic pieces, right? Having the messaging, the alerting, which all sound like basic, and well, why can't you build that? Because it's just a lot of work, right? And we don't really want to do it. The other thing we're super excited about, and what we really like about DataHub, is the API backbone underneath it. I'll talk a bit about embedding later, but for us, that's a key capability. We have a lot of users that never interact with the UI of our catalog. Right? We have a ton of data engineers and users that interact through APIs into various other tool integrations. I love the one tool to rule them all, by the way. We never got into that, but I think the message there rings really true. I think overall, you want to make sure that the catalog powers all of these things and that everything powers the catalog. And so this whole kind of combined ecosystem is a really important thing where we're going as well. So we connect a lot of our ETL solutions. We connect a lot of our subscription tools into the catalog. Like I said, our current status, we've deployed into production. We're actually waiting for our PR to be all fully baked and going in. We will probably deploy that as a fork internally first. And just to talk about that, Mick, if you go to the next slide. So here's what we are, and this is kind of our first real contribution. This is what we are trying to do, and you can see the links at the bottom of the slide. But one of the things we have is we have a pretty sprawling ecosystem, right? We have a number of Hadoop clusters. We deal with data localization, so we will see duplication or triplication of our data systems to some extent. And so one of the things that we've consistently struggled with is how do I consistently manage classifications, definitions, policies associated with data across all of that. Now, everybody says, like, well, that's easy. A data engineer can just do it. But we want to avoid making our data engineers the owner of all sorts of business definitions, classifications, policies. And so we're really looking about it at an abstraction, more of a logical model where we can do this once, and then we connect that into our data sets. And then we move the maintenance of what we call a business attribute largely to our data stewards and data subject matter experts. And so this is what we're doing. We're building this thing called a business attribute, and it aggregates or collects a whole bunch of business information. Like business terms and definitions is one of them. We have a pretty extensive classification system, right? And the simplest one to always call out is something PI information, or is something not PI information? What PI is it? All sorts of things like that. We're also anticipating that we're going to need a lot more of this, right? And that's why the title uses the word scale, because we need to figure out how across thousands, in some cases, 100,000s of data sets and millions of columns, how to get all of this connected and appropriately propagated through to the catalog to consumers. And so business attributes collects all of that. We then map it into a table column. And so now we've established a relationship between this logical construct and all of these columns and tables. And so this is the first step for us to implement some of the things we have running in our production systems in-house now in DataHub. Let me go to the next slide. So that's what it looks like. This is just standard DataHub open source UI. On the top left, you have a new attribute, a new menu item called the business attribute. You click on that, you get your typical create screen. I didn't show you all of that, right? But I'm just going to use one of them here, which is an example out of what you would typically see in our systems. So cashback amount, everybody knows roughly what that is. We add a description there. The important thing is we actually add the glossary terms into that. I haven't added any links in here because they're going to go to some custom and proprietary Visa stuff, so I don't want to show any of that. But we basically build up this business attribute, including the ownership and the glossary terms that are associated with that, and that establishes this whole construct of what does this actually mean. And that, in the bottom bit, we've then attached to a field, right? And you'll see some weird white spaces that's simply to block out all sorts of interesting Visa stuff. And the interesting that happens is the moment you go into that business attribute column at the bottom there and you pick this business attribute called cashback amount, it populates the grayed out description text, it populates the associated glossary terms, it creates all of that in here. And so now if you're an end user or a consumer and you're looking at the catalog going, what does this all mean? You get all of that information directly provided in a curated manner, and it's connected into the business attribute. So if I change the description, or I add things or I do things, they reflect as well. We still anticipate, and that's what we do on a routine basis, that people augment even that column again, right? Because there is generic information, right? This is a cashback amount, its PI is no. But in our case, this field actually is in the acquire currency. And so at the bottom there, you see that there's an additional glossary term added to that, which explains more context to this attribute. So that's our first step to get to a logical model and build this out. Let me give you the next slide. And it's kind of part of our wish list. Like the first one, which is there, like structured property is important to us because we extend most of our elements we extend, and we want a way of adding additional properties. So that's good. We're contributing business attributes. So that's in progress. So that's good. One of the things you saw me do is use glossary terms quite a bit. And what we're trying to get to, and we're going to probably submit something around glossary types, like I've called it here in quotes. We're trying to figure out how do I distinguish a business term from a classification, from a policy, right? And they all smell very similar. They all have a bunch of text, and they all have a link, and they all have a bunch of these things. But we do want to notify or show in the UI that these things are slightly different. So that's one of our things that we are kind of looking into. But the big one, which is on the screen here, is logical data sets. And it's a little bit related to, I think, how our system's set up, but it's going to, I think, benefit like a lot if you want to scale out governance. For us, most of our main tables, we have at least 6 copies. And those are the ones that I know off top of head, right? And there is probably 12 more somewhere. And to scale governance, rather than going to each physical table in each physical environment and figuring out how to put a lasso around and rope them together, a construct like a logical data set will make our life a ton easier, because we can connect that logical data set and connect it to these physical ones. And now all of my business users and my data stewards don't actually have to figure out, oh, Hadoop cluster number 7 or the DB2 database number 3. You don't have to trawl around all of this stuff. And we're really trying to figure out how to kind of elevate where we put our data products, where we put our data contracts, where we do put our definitions. And that's where we think logical data sets is going to give us a much better scale out model for that. And then we connect that into all of our data sets, and then we can drive the governance piece off the logical data sets. The other use case that I'm sure everybody has is the one as to where is my data and what does this data mean in business context and where does it live in physical context, right? And you can do that with data products, but for us, having the potential of a logical data set, connecting a data product to that, data contracts to that, and then we can push that through our stack is probably a much more scalable manner. And then we'll have one more slide. So Miko, next slide. And so I'll share some of the things we've learned in our 5-year metadata journey that's since I joined Visa. And I'm going to kind of start in the middle here. The invisible catalog. It's a very powerful tool for anybody who wants to start a catalog initiative as going with one. You probably need to fund it. You'll have to make it into a visible catalog, so you have to have a good message around it and what it powers. The invisible catalog is coming back to the one tool to rule them all. It's very hard to dictate everybody to use one tool and whatnot. And so for us, the API strategy is really important. And I would recommend everybody to look at this. People use various tools, like we saw DBT and nice tight integration with that. We use various other tools like ETL tools. We have built custom in-house software for subscriptions, right? For us, we bury the catalog into all of those things. We have, like I said, yes, we have users who do search and browse and whatnot, but a ton of our catalog use is actually embedded in other tools. My recommendation, don't fight it, right? Go and partner, go and share, go and tell everybody, here's the API, connect this thing into everything, right? And have everybody connect into, right from, all of those things. The other thing we tried really hard is to do a metadata first approach. And that's all about schema evolution, not breaking upstream things. How do I maintain schema versions, all of that stuff. It's very hard to enforce. We stood on the soapbox, we stood on the stage, we said everything, all the right words, right? And people were like, yes, sounds great to me, but I'm doing something different, man. And so we've switched, and that's why we like DataHub as well. We switched to a closed loop system. We simply become agnostic. We say, if you want to do metadata first, here's how you do it. If you want to deploy stuff, we ingest it. And so we continuously keep telling people, here's a change, here's a thing, look at this. And so rather than enforcing how people do things, we enforce the action. Right? If you're the owner of a data set, you're expected and measured against the actions you take. You made a change, you need to decorate your metadata to make it compliant, etc. So we focused a lot more on that, and that's a much better strategy to getting your catalog refreshed, up to date, embedded, all of those things. And then last one, we have a significant software organization, like both on data engineering side as well as on software engineering. We did build our own catalog. It is a serious investment. You have full control, but you have a serious investment to take and to work with. So my recommendation is that you probably want to look at open source because it gives you a bit of the best of both worlds, right? You can influence, you can talk to the community, you can bring in ideas, you can move this thing. If you're like us, and not everybody is like us, you can actually start to contribute and you can start to really engage and hopefully kind of find common ground and drive some of the open source capabilities to solve common problems for everybody. So it gives you the best of both worlds. Now, if you want to buy software, putting it on top of an open source backbone is probably a great idea. So again, you get kind of the, hey, I have vendor support, but you also have a solid community behind it. And you know it doesn't go into left field because of something, right? So you get this kind of safety in numbers, you get your support. And again, not everybody's like Visa, where we have enough people and power and money to actually go invest in our own software, right? So those are some of my lessons learned. That's all I had, Miko. Next is Q&A and whatever you guys want to do.
Okay, wow. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Okay, so we have 3 minutes left, and I do see we have some comments in the chat. If you guys have questions, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. I do have a poll that I want to run at the very end to see, you know, what was most beneficial to people, but I was waiting to see if there were any questions and we could maybe do one because we do have 3 minutes left. So first of all, 𝗏𝗃𝗲, thank you so much for that. Let me fix your screen here. I have you highlighted as a speaker, so just give me 1 second here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Okay. All right, so do we have any? Okay, so 𝗏𝗃𝗲, there is a question here for you, so I'll just go ahead and pin you on the screen here. The question is from James, and he's asking, have you ever found the need to add tags to business terms? And we probably have like 2 minutes to answer that at best.
Yeah, and we keep on debating tags. Yes, we probably will add them, but we probably leave that to the community. And we would love to do it for business terms. So I would love to have tags in everything. I think there's also some education that we need to do because we do want some tags to be free format. But for example, PI, we have a 128 or whatever classification list of PI. We definitely don't want to do that in DataHub tags, right, where everybody can make up a word. So those to us are glossary terms. But yes, a business term with a tag would probably be a good idea because people can filter on them.
Awesome. Okay, guys. 𝗏𝗃𝗲, thank you again. I'll go ahead and add the pin here. So we appreciate this. And I know we're not able to share the deck, but we do have the recording. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with our DataHub catalog. You know, I was making a little bit of joke and saying, hey, if you want to skip the learning curve, we also have, you know, Acryl manage product and observe, right? So if you're not Visa and you don't have the resources, we do have a managed solution. Shameless plug here, even though I'm the DataHub community manager, and you guys can fully get a demo if you want to not have to work through OSS. Okay, all right, with that said, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and launch one more poll. We do want to find out which session was most useful for everybody. So if you guys could hang around for 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll really quickly. Just let us know which session you found most useful and give us any feedback. There's a second question in terms of giving us feedback on what you may want to see for the next town hall or what you think we can improve. And then you guys can go ahead and head out. Thank you for the captive audience as well that we have on YouTube and obviously here in Zoom. This has been super awesome. All right, so I'll let you guys go ahead and then we will see you in the next one. I'll keep the poll open here and I'll show the results after. Okay. All right,
Thanks
44.
a lot, JP. This was a
thank you
great
so
talk.
much.
And I think the last slide that, you know, covered your learnings were absolutely on point, probably worth like 3 blog posts or something.
Yeah, I was thinking the same
Thank you.
thing. Like, what a concise breakdown of your journey. I know that many people will learn a lot from that.
Yep.
All right, we are 63% response, and I will close off the poll in a minute, and then we'll get everybody out of here. Okay, 65%. Awesome. All right, I'm going to close the poll and share it. Wait, almost 70%. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we've kind of, 72%. Okay, now they're moving fast. All right, give me 1 second. I get ready to close it. We're like at 75%.
The responses are pouring in.
Yeah, they are pouring in. We're at 75%.
Exit polls. Exit polls.
Exit polls. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share it. Thank you. And 80%. Okay, let me go ahead and share it here. Thank you guys so much.
JP
And
is
so
the president of DataHub, clearly.
Right. Okay, so guys, we knew that Visa, I expected this. 77% absolutely love. Yay, that JP. Absolutely loved JP's presentation, followed by the product roadmap. So Shashanka, I know everybody's excited because we have that release.
I think
and then we
was
have
excited that I went through it quickly. That's probably why we got so many votes this time.
Right. And then we have a tie between the DBT integration and the Acryl Observe. So I think that's super awesome. And thank you guys for the 5 people who responded to what they want to see next, as well as the fact that Susan is on YouTube telling us it was a great session. Thank you. Don't worry, guys. We'll be back here again in 4 weeks. Thank you for joining the town hall, and hopefully we'll be back to LinkedIn Live as well. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you next month. Awesome. All right, guys. Have a fantastic,
Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
holiday.
JP.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.